Well, I know how to count to 10 in Icelandic, if
All right.
you would like to hear that.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, coming from Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, by the way of Lazy Town, Icelandic, blah, 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 blah. Here is Teresa Logsden with her talent of counting to 10 in Icelandic. Are you ready?
I'm ready. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to an episode of The Box Cutter, where we take part in an episode of Disney's Out of the Box to see if it still holds up. My name is Daniel, and my co-host, fan of the podcast, fan of Out of the Box, Miss Teresa Logsden. How are you doing?
I'm good, Daniel, and how are you?
I am great as always. You are deciding to venture into content creating. Can you explain a little bit more about like the type of content you want to do and like what inspired you to want to take that step?
Well, what inspired me is that I've seen a lot of nostalgic YouTube channels lately for like all the shows of the 2000s, like your podcast, and that's what inspired me to do it.
I see. And what pray tell are you planning to cover on your, or are you covering on your videos?
I will be recapping episodes of the Icelandic comedy show Lazy Town.
Lazy Town. I haven't heard that name in a good while. For those who don't know, Lazy Town was a show that showed on Nickelodeon. It's from Iceland. That's where the famous "We Are Number One" meme comes from, as you all know.
I loved the show growing up, and one of my dreams is to actually go to Iceland.
To go to Iceland. Isn't that the one that's green?
Opposite, actually.
Yeah, Iceland is green, Greenland is icy.
No, actually, Iceland's icy.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
I don't even know anymore. I've been, this quarantine has me not thinking about traveling, but hopefully, we're at the tail end of it all. Speaking of which, so that's been going on in your life. What other, ventures or accomplishments or activities have you been up to since we last talked?
Well, I am reading as always, and I am trying to learn the Icelandic language, actually.
Really? But it's not, people just think, oh, it's just memorizing words. But language is a little more complicated. It's more about, I guess, the rules.
Yep.
Because you can say the same thing about, I don't know, checkers, where it's like, oh, all you have to do is move your pieces. Same thing with languages. All I have to do is memorize words. Okay, but how? What are the rules? What are the rules to checkers? What are the rules to Icelandics or Scandinavian? I don't know what the language is. Can you educate me on that? What's the language called?
It's actually called Icelandic. Okay. It is one of the most difficult languages.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like taking it step by step.
And with regards to reading, I'm guessing you are reading language books about Icelandic?
Actually, this is the book I'm reading. My stepdad got it for me for my birthday 2 months ago.
Iceland Changed the World.
Yep.
And how's that holding up? Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, it's actually a bunch of stories that came from like the early Viking years. Mm-hmm. So I highly recommend it for all of you who want to travel to Iceland.
So Nordic, though, what would you say out of all of those tales is your the one that sticks out the most to you that you've read?
The one that sticks out to me is the how the writing got started
Mm-hmm.
and how it differs from American writing.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have to say that's one of my favorites.
So today's episode we are talking about is called Revealing Feelings, which interestingly though, the start of the episode, Vivian is alone and explain that Tony is sick and that she has to watch kids on her own. Because normally at the beginning of the show, you have the whole hi, I'm Vivian, and this is my friend Tony, and blah 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 blah. But today it was just Vivian. So I feel it feels off. It feels like it's a parallel universe where Vivian's just the sole host of Out of the Box. And so the episode starts on a sad note with Celine, Alicia, and Nicholas coming in all bummed with their raincoats. It's raining, and Vivian, seeing that everyone's bummed out that Tony's not there. So she suggests that they do stuff like a yodeling contest or play some instruments. And Vivian suggesting all these things. And she suggests that they do something special so that way they can tell Tony about it. And so she tries to overcompensate by suggesting some things like, "Ooh, why don't we yodel really loudly or play some instruments?" Or and I can tell she's purposely doing bad acting, I guess you could say. Because it's like she's like trying to like, "Oh, I'm gonna try and be extra super fun so that way they are distracted." And it makes sense in terms of somebody who doesn't normally take care of kids, but with Vivian, she seems experienced, so it didn't make sense for her to try and overcompensate versus addressing the issue right away. And I'll touch on that again right now. But so she suggests that they have a loudness contest, and she picks up some drumsticks and starts banging on Tony's drum. And Celine gets upset and says that gets mad about Vivian banging on Tony's drum. And Alicia's trying to help calm Celine down, and Celine's getting mad at Alicia too. So Vivian realizes all the tension, and so she has everyone sit down and just share their feeling, which I feel that what you should have done. And so you do you have any brothers, sisters, nephews, nieces?
I actually have a sister and a brother and 3 stepbrothers.
Mm-hmm. And are they younger than you, older than you?
Well, my sister and brother are younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's fiance has 3 boys.
Mm-hmm.
His oldest is the same age as me.
Mm-hmm.
And his middle is the same age as my sister. And then, so I guess you could say I'm the second oldest.
Okay. And when you guys first started to your both your families introduce each other, do you feel like you could kind of see in the younger ones the feelings of the that they were scared and they didn't know how to traverse this new situation of step parents or step siblings? How did they act out?
Well, my mom and her fiance met I want to say junior year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't remember the feelings that they were feeling, but as long as my mom was happy, that's all that really matters.
Did they or did you act out in any way? Did you, or when you met your step siblings?
My brother did, actually.
Oh, really? Are you comfortable sharing it, or?
Well, my younger brother took our parents' divorce really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So it was hard for him to adjust.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of sad that in the part of the world that we live in, men and the idea of masculinity, we are not allowed to talk about our feelings because there's old-fashioned views of men. Men are strong and they have to be leaders, and they lead us into the unknown as we stand behind them. And to see a man describe his feelings or cry and whatnot, it I guess it makes people uneasy because it's like, why is the person that we follow, what if they're scared, we're scared. If they're crying, we're crying. In that sense, like, did that make sense?
Yes.
Like, I'm not of that mindset of, oh, men can't cry and all that stuff. If anything, I feel that I try and encourage that for my students. If they want to cry, they can cry. If they're upset, with regards to your brother, it must have been, he must have felt very alone with what can I do to express these feelings? I feel like these feelings are trapped in me, is how I feel like you're expressing this, because even though my parents aren't divorced, they don't live with each other anymore. And so it's very, I felt very upset about that. I felt very like betrayed, in a sense of this my mother, you've been with her even before I was born, and all of a sudden you're just in a midlife crisis, and you know maybe a few months ago, if I recall, my dad called me, and I talked to him, and I told him, it's not that it's not that I dislike you. It's the fact that you did it. You have to live with the consequences that go with the decision that you make. So you made that decision, and that's fine. You can't regret the decision that you make. You just have to accept that you made them and either see them as fine or as mistakes. And
well, I do have a story
mm-hmm,
about that.
mm-hmm,
I did not grow up with my biological father.
mm-hmm,
And when my former stepdad and mom divorced, I just remember hating him. And my mom was like, you need to let it go.
mm-hmm,
And I was like, I can't let it go because the only dad I've ever known practically
mm-hmm,
abandoned me and he just didn't care.
mm-hmm. And it's very tragic when these things happen, but at the same time, if people are willing to accept the responsibility that come with the decisions that they make, and sometimes it's very hard to move past these things, but when we feel comfortable enough to move past it, it's very relieving.
Right.
So, but anyways, we digress. But yeah, so she has everyone. I appreciate that Vivian saw the tension and had everyone sit in a circle and share their feelings, but I wish she kind of addressed it first, in terms of like, oh, why don't we all just sit down and like, why don't we just talk about why we're feeling sad or whatnot, instead of just like trying to be like, oh, well, maybe we can do this fun thing, maybe we can do that fun thing. It was it didn't make sense why she would do that for me, but in terms of like the episode, sure, but as her character, that just didn't make sense for her to make that mistake of, let's do something fun and crazy, instead of, let's address our feelings, and then once we address them, let's ease ourselves into doing something fun. They talk about how they feel unmotivated and sad and confused and mad because Tony is absent and sick. And Vivian's like, yeah, sometimes it makes you feel that way. You feel lost and you feel sad and you feel blah and you feel angry. And when you feel that way, it shows in the way you act. So I like that she made that correlation, because because I think kids aren't self-aware enough sometimes to know that the way that they behave tells the way that they're feeling or the way that they're thinking. So so Celine recognizes her mistake and then apologizes to Alicia, and the two then show off their makeup handshake,
which I'm pretty sure Tony probably taught them.
You thought Tony taught them?
Yeah.
Well, if there's 3 kids and Alicia and Celine are 2 of them, who would be the 3rd kid in that circle?
I would go with Sperry on that one.
You would think Sperry, Celine, and Alicia made up that handshake?
Yeah.
Maybe. But so then Vivian then recaps the importance of recognizing their feelings.
It's music time.
First song is called Everybody Has Feelings. It was generic. I'll just say it was generic in the type of Barney category.
I would agree with you on that.
But I like the fact, though, that it encourages kids to be honest and transparent about how they're feeling. Like, oh, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm excited.
I loved Alicia's facial expressions during that song.
Yeah. I just wish there was something else that could have been done with I guess, like in the song. I feel like there needed to be like an element of inclusion. I don't know. Vivian could have showed them doing like some dance move or something. Like, oh, follow along with us. Stomp your feet when you're mad, and jump up when you're happy, and cross your arms when you're sad, or something like that.
And I'd have to say it's not one of my season 2 favorites.
I don't know. I still like that restaurant song. That's it. That's still stuck in my head. We're going to a restaurant. We're going to a restaurant. So everyone feels better, but they still miss Tony. And surprisingly, Celine is being mature in this part, because she suggests they make something for Tony. Because at first she's all like, I guess, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little inappropriate, but I'm just like, maybe she had like a kid crush on Tony, because every kid had the crush.
They did seem the closest.
So,
excuse me.
It seemed like she had a kid crush on Tony, just like how Brandon had a kid crush on Vivian. And I think it was very immature of Celine to, put her feelings aside and be mature enough to make, be optimistic and positive, and suggest that they make something for Tony, which is a card and some pictures.
It's arts and crafts time.
So the arts and crafts for this is a get well card. It is simple, it is effective, and overall it's universal, which is the whole theme of Out of the Box, and that you don't need a lot of fancy things in order to, create. So, it seems very basic, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
See, this is how I would have done the card. I would have written to Tony, and then done the pictures, and then feel better, and then have them sign their names.
I feel that I thought they would go the direction of Vivian would show them, okay, first you have to fold it in half, and then
it looked more like a poster than a card.
It was like a postcard. There you go, a postcard. It was a giant postcard. a postcard. So everyone drew their own picture for Tony, and then they stuck it on the giant poster board. That part I did it. I was a little like, okay, weird, but okay. Because I thought Vivian would have them fold it in half, draw the picture on the inside, and then write "Get Well" on the front.
Right.
But you can't expect preschoolers to start writing words at that age. So I get why they would only draw a picture then stick them on a board. But I don't know, maybe they could have folded the paper in half, draw a picture, and then drew a heart on the front of it. That would have been another way to make a get well card.
Right.
So
but I thought it was sweet.
Yeah, it was sweet that they each made their own picture. It wasn't like they all shared one piece of paper. It was each one of them, did their own thing of what they thought would make Tony happy. And it kind of shows a little bit of their personality because like Nick used some like egg cartons to give like some dimension to his card, and Vivian drew herself singing and all these other things. So it definitely showed a little bit of their personality in each of the pictures that they made. And so, the kids are, Vivian's noting just how grown up the kids are in understanding how Tony might be feeling about having to stay home sick. And I'd have to agree with her because even in 3rd and 4th grade, a lot of kids lack empathy. And the weird thing is we know what sympathy is, but we don't give enough spotlight to empathy. Like when people say, oh, I feel sorry for them, that's sympathy. But empathy is more of, I know how you're feeling. I've been in that situation. And so I like that she's bringing the importance of empathy, of putting yourself in this person's shoes in terms of how they might be feeling.
It's music time.
And so the next song is When I Can See It Your Way. A lot better out of the two. It's reggae and it teaches empathy and it's very catchy. And
one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah, it's a good song. I don't know.
See, thinking back to season 1 where they had the fast song and then the slow song, I was wondering what happened to that.
Yeah. I just think maybe it's just the whole tone of the episode is what is making me think this way, because it's like they're bummed and they stay bummed for like most of the episode. So it's like, you're bummed, I'm feeling bummed. So yeah, but after, singing the song, the kids are hopeful and they're excited to see Tony tomorrow, even though they still miss him. And then they share their thoughts on how awful it must be to stay home sick, and how Nick said that one time he had to stay home because, and he couldn't go to his friend's party. I'm trying to remember if I've ever been sick and I've had to stay home, because I don't feel like I've ever had. My mom is, bless her heart, she is a hustler. And, she did not give me any sick days. She never gave me any sick days. She just said, you're going to school. Here's your medicine. I'll be by at lunchtime to give you it again. And yeah, pretty much it.
Complete opposite with me, actually. When I was in the 4th grade, I had basically 100 temperature fever. So I almost missed our Holiday World trip.
Holiday World trip? What's that?
Where I went to elementary school, at the end of the year, we would always go to Holiday World to celebrate us.
But what's Holiday World? The viewers want to know, what is Holiday World? What are they hiding
World is like
in Holiday World?
Park.
And what kinds of holidays? Kwanzaa,
Christmas,
Passover,
Halloween, Thanksgiving, and I think they celebrate Columbus Day. I'm not sure. I have not been since I was 10 years old.
Okay. And you almost missed it, or did you miss it?
I almost missed it, but luckily I recovered in time.
I see. While they're talking about, staying at home sick, this makes Vivian ask, well, I know somebody who had to stay home one time from a party. Or actually, it wasn't a party, it was a ball.
It's story time.
So the story is Cinderella and Lazy Locks. And I kind of feel it's kind of lazy, pun intended, of them to use the story of Cinderella again after they used it in season 1 when they did Beat Burst.
Well, they also do it again in season 3. So Cinderella was a popular story with this
Disney,
show.
I get that, you have a movie based on it and 2 sequels based on that movie. And this had nothing to do with Cinderella. This was just like, oh, the character name is Cinderella. I don't know how else. What other story could have been a good substitute besides Cinderella? What do you think?
I would say maybe Little Red Riding Hood.
Maybe Little Red Riding Hood. Well, actually, yeah, that would be an interesting one. But they already did Little Red Riding Hood in Going Camping. Remember?
Right.
The Little Red Hen would have been an interesting one. But
I love that story.
Where they have Little Red Hen and she's, doing all this stuff.
And they did that.
Not I said really? They did that one too. Oh yeah, they did. They did do that one. So then what? Why couldn't they just make up just a random story? Or so yeah, so it's just about Cinderella and like she had a sister named Lazy Locks or roommate or whatever. And Lazy Locks is played by Alicia, and she's like, just sits on a beanbag chair, listening to her headphones, while Cinderella, played by Celine, is cooking and cleaning and doing all that stuff. And Cinderella is not like resentful in the story. She's more like, oh, do you want to help me? And Lazy Locks like, nah, you're better at doing that stuff.
I was wondering, like watching the episode, all I was wondering is where that TV come from.
I wasn't even paying attention to that. They had a TV for real.
Yeah.
You know what? This reinforces my hypothesis. Tony and Vivian are ageless, like immortal spellcasters who harness the youth and life essence of those children to stay immortal, and they hone that imagination magic that those children have to project it into the clubhouse. That's why they have that TV. Cinderella's doing all this cooking and cleaning, and so they suggest, or they come up with the idea of having a party. And Lazy Luck's like, oh, good. I want you to get up in the morning and get everything cleaned up. Because you're good at that. So morning happens and Lazy Luck wakes up and the house is still a mess. So she runs over to Cinderella and like, why isn't the house clean? Blah, 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 blah. And so she hears that the Prince Charming, played by Nick, is at the door. She lets him in. And he's like, well, am I early? Or like, what's happening? So Lazy Locks has to explain, well, Cinderella's supposed to clean, but she says she's sick. So they go see her. And so during that scene, what I like is that it demonstrates them talking and sharing their feelings, Lazy Locks and Cinderella.
It shows consideration.
Yes, it shows consideration and empathy. But I also like that Prince Charming notes to Lazy Locks, like, well, what are you doing to help Cinderella? It's like they're also teaching accountability. Why didn't you help? Why didn't you offer to do it? And what I like too is that while Lazy Locks and Cinderella are having this exchange, Prince Charming steps away from that conversation because he knows that it's like it's none of his business. And like he's cooking soup or something while they're doing that. So I like that they kind of show, hey, if you're not part of this conversation, you can go away. So that way people can have their
I love how
private
they
talks.
kept the stove from the restaurant episode in that.
Oh yeah, such a great callback to that. That is a good callback. And so yeah, so Prince Charming is making her soup, and Lazy Locks and Cinderella are talking about who's gonna do what and all this stuff. So and I also like that they postponed the party. I thought they would have like a cleaning party and just have the house clean for Cinderella. But
that's what I was thinking too.
But I like that they showed flexibility too in terms of like rescheduling. Okay, we'll have the party tomorrow. So yeah, so they have the parties tomorrow, and Cinderella feels better at the end and all that stuff. Yeah, I just feel like it's wrong to call it Cinderella. There's nothing wrong with the story. I just felt like it didn't need to be called Cinderella, if that makes sense.
It should have been called, I don't know, maybe like Lazy Locks.
Lazy Locks and the cleaning bear.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think Lazy Locks, Goldilocks. So yeah, after they recap their favorite parts of the story, Vivian suggests they stop by Tony's and give them the card that they make. And in another groundbreaking moment that breaks reality, Vivian and the kids sing the goodbye song. Like this is so, I feel so dirty and like inappropriate for watching such an uncomfortable thing.
They did it in the Happy Holidays episode.
But that's different. Tony was there.
Okay, you have a point.
This is like just Vivian and the kids. It's like, and she's like, I know a song. I'm like, okay, sure.
Especially with her winking at the camera.
That.
So I was.
Yeah,
so
I'm like, Vivian,
thinking, like,
you sorcerer, you fourth wall breaking sorcerer.
So I was sitting there thinking, like, she's winking at the camera. So I was sitting watching the episode thinking Tony's watching them from backstage.
This is so uncomfortable. How it's like, that episode of Dragon Tales where Emmy is like being a sore loser. And so like she doesn't want to be there no more. And she's like, all right, come on, Max. Like, well, I want to stay. And then she like goes home like, you can't do that. There is still 5 minutes left in the episode. You can't just leave Dragonland.
To be honest, I wish they would have saved that for whatever the finale is of the show.
Dragon Tales?
No, of Out of the Box.
What?
Where they have Nick and Alicia sing the goodbye song with Tony and Viv because
that would have been
two
nice.
OGs.
That would have been a nice one. What is your feeling of Vivian and the kids singing the goodbye song?
Well, re-watching it as an adult, it just felt weird. Because I was always used to Tony and Viv singing the song.
Yeah, how dare those children taint get their grubby hand and taint the special sacred song.
Well, with the Happy Holidays episode, I thought it was really cool.
It was a holiday. That was the exception. This is a regular day. How dare they?
But with this not being a holiday episode, I don't know, it just felt weird.
Yeah. I mean, like, how dare they? Just how dare they? It's like, I don't know. It's like seeing your teacher
outside of school.
Yeah. Outside of school. How dare they? They live at school. How dare they live outside of school? But yeah, so that was revealing feelings. Let's go ahead and get to our verdict then. The theme of emotions. How do you feel it was presented?
I thought it was presented pretty good, but on the other hand, they should have started with the talking first before they got into their activities.
Yeah. In terms of being an educator, I would say that's how it should have been. But with what they're trying to present, I get why Vivian's character did what she did and why Celine's character would behave how she behaved, because they need to teach the kids what feelings are and all that stuff. So but I feel the topic of emotions and feelings, I feel it was presented well. And just having the plot of Tony not being there, it was what the episode needed, because it's kind of hard to do an episode on feelings without it being very bland, vanilla, rainbows and unicorns.
I love unicorns.
Okay, but what I mean to say is it's very, emotions, happy, sad, mad, glad, if Tony and Vivian were there. So it kind of did need that plot point of Tony being sick.
Right.
So, but I'd say it's the theme still holds up, because especially in with COVID, how with everything with COVID, it's definitely an important topic to talk about, because a lot of preschoolers are doing it online, and once they start going back in person, which they are, a lot of them need practice in terms of being socialized.
Well, as I mentioned back in our episode Ships Ahoy from season 1, I still believe that kids today who didn't grow up with the show need to learn how to do that as well.
Yeah. All right. So the music, it does not hold up for me. It's just not interactive enough. The speak and callback is not enough for the second song. And yeah, even though the second song was catchy, I don't remember any particular words from it. So I just say that it doesn't hold up the music for this episode.
I would agree to disagree.
All right, go ahead.
I mean, I agree with you, because
it's my show.
Yeah. I agree with you, because it's not the same as the way season 1 was, where like it was more interactive and they would say, "Oh, come on and sing along with us." But yeah, I lost my train of thought there.
All right, the arts and crafts, it holds up. It's universal. It's simple. You don't need too many things, and it's exactly what should be done when someone's not feeling well.
I would agree. It was really sweet, super basic.
But there's nothing wrong. I think basic has become kind of negative in terms of like today's day and age, where it's like, oh, that's boring, that's basic. But at the same time, basic isn't a bad thing. Basic can mean like simple, clean, easy. So I'd say with you saying basic, I see it as a positive thing. I don't know what way are you using basic?
Because it's not over the top. Because I think most of the arts and crafts they did on the show were just a little bit over the top.
Okay, I get it. It was yeah, and basic is the correct word to use. It was a basic arts and craft. For me, that's not a bad thing, but I guess when you watch a normal episode of Out of the Box, you're used to them making cardboard ambulances and play food and all that stuff. So yeah, that's understandable. But I'd say overall, this is arts and craft that's timeless. It is a timeless one, not because of the way it was presented, but because, well, as long as you have paper and markers, it's what people are naturally going to do.
In the words of Lazy Town, go for it.
The story of Cinderella and Lazy Locks. It was okay. I think it was too stationary in terms of like standing or sitting or lying down. Characters weren't as. It was very.
Well, considering the fact that they did it 5 times throughout the show, they should have done something else.
Mm-hmm. But when you are using fairy tales as an inspiration, you're kind of limiting yourself to what tale you can draw from.
Right.
But then again, I appreciate that they did stuff like Three Little Kittens because I didn't know that was like a nursery rhyme. I didn't know that. What was that other one? Something about some guy with a pie or something.
Oh, yeah. Simple Simon. That's the restaurant.
Simple Simon was a pieman, blah, 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 blah. That's it. So I wish they kind of drew from a nursery rhyme, maybe. That would have been interesting. But yeah, it was just in terms of the story itself, not thinking about Cinderella. Because Cinderella, I get it. But in terms of the story itself, it's just too stationary. It's like the kids are gonna look and they're gonna be like, I'm bored, I'm blah, 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 and this and that. So that's my main issue, besides in the, tying it to Cinderella, is that there's not enough movement in the story. The only person that really moves a lot is Cinderella. And then other than that, when she's sick, they're just standing and talking, sitting and talking, laying down and talking.
I would agree with you. As much as I love Cinderella, the overall fairy tale, they should have picked, I don't know, Goldilocks, even though they did it in season 1.
Overall, I just feel like the story doesn't hold up because
I like the message in it.
I do like the message, but unfortunately, it just wouldn't hold up because, well, it would be a little too slow paced for kids.
Okay.
And then the overall performance, it's hard to say because this is kind of a sad episode. Not sad in that it's sad.
For a kid show.
Yeah, it's sad because it's like you're used to seeing Tony and Vivian happy and lively
and energetic.
Yeah, but in this instance, you just see Vivian and the kids, and the first shot of them is them upset, them yelling at each other. It's like, oh, well, this is sad.
Well, according to what I've read, one of the missing episodes in season 1 is similar to season 2.
Really? Which one?
The Gift.
The Gift. Isn't that I thought that was more of a like the Unicornucopia, wasn't it?
From what I read, it's where Viv is not there, but Tony is the one that's there.
I mean, from the title, it sounds like it. And they get her a gift.
Yeah.
Maybe it ties in. Oh wait, no, I'm dumb. Maybe that ties into that episode where they go eat out. But no, that's season 2. I'm getting it myself. So that's interesting then. But I'd say it's a sad episode, but I feel like it's a necessary episode. You can't have everything be the same
butterflies
every time. You can't have vanilla ice cream every single time, because if you have vanilla ice cream every single time, you're gonna get bored of it. So it is kind of a sad episode, not sad like depressing sad, but it's like it bums
heartbreaking.
It bums you out. It's a bumming episode, but it's necessary. It's a necessary evil because, well, I'd say evil is too much of it's exaggerated, but what I mean to say by necessary evil is that it's to show kids that there's other things besides happiness and excitement. There's sadness, there's frustration.
Okay.
But overall, revealing feelings, I'd say still holds up. Teresa, thank you so much for revealing and feeling and listening.
Well, thank you for having me.
I hope to have you back on for season 3, maybe sooner. Hope so. But are there any last minute thoughts or any other things you'd like to share about the videos? Where can people find you and all that stuff?
Well, you can follow me on TikTok at Princess Teresa 25.
Make sure to leave a comment if you like what you hear. Why not subscribe? I'm on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify at boxcutterpodcast@gmail.com. Send all feedback and suggestions to the boxcutterpodcast@gmail.com because it takes a village to raise something beautiful. In the words of Tony and Vivian, so long, farewell, until we meet again.
Just put yourself inside my shoes and make believe you're me. 'Cause when you see it my way,
When I see it your way,
and I can see it your way,
you can see it my way.
that is such a fine way
That is such a fine way
for us to get along.
for us to get along.
Then we will understand each other and everything will turn out fine. Then we will understand each other and everything will turn out fine. Everything will turn out fine when Tony comes back tomorrow. I can't wait to see him.